Good evening, Facebook. Joey Gabarda coming to you from Classic Honda of Midland here at 3705 West Wall Street in Midland, Texas. And we're going to continue with the leasing part. Thank you for all the likes and the shares. And we had a lot of good interaction with some people. Some people had some good questions that messaged us the other day, and we got all those questions answered. And we're going to continue a little bit, not too long, about now that you understand and know how a lease works, we're going to go through what the difference is between a lease and a purchase. And in my book, there's nothing. So I'm going to go through a couple different things with you here, but there are some difference. But in reality, when you buy a car, you don't really own the car. The bank owns the car. So when you purchase a car, unless you pay cash for it, the bank owns it. Okay? You get the title when you pay it off. Then you officially own the car. Okay? When you lease a car, okay, the lease or the leasing company they hold the title until you pay the car off. So in reality, the leasing company is a lender, is a bank. So there's really no difference between those two there. Now, a lot of people say, well, you have mileage restrictions. That is true, okay? Here, on the lease side, you do have mile restriction, okay? On the purchase side, you can put as many miles on the car as you want. Okay? And I'm going to go over a couple things when we turn around and explain each of these and show you how it's not really different. Here's one difference. This is a short term. Usually with finance today, it's going to be a little bit more of a long term. Okay? In a purchase, you pay an interest rate. In a lease, you pay a money factor. Which is the same exact thing as an interest rate. And it's really weird. Now I'll show you how to calculate a money factor into an interest rate. Okay? So those are just a few things where it's similar. One thing that's where you'll see a difference as well, you'll see a difference, your insurance. Oops. Is a little bit higher on a lease. Not a big difference though, but in a lease you're required to carry 100, 300,000 versus in a purchase you don't. So it's a little bit more liability to the insurance company on a lease. And as things come up, I'll make sure I put them in there. But as far as I'm concerned, there's really not a difference between the two. They're both lending companies. Again, going back to what we talked about the other day is, the real difference is here you have options. Okay? The 4 options we talked about. Okay? Remember, buy, sell, trade, or turn in. When you purchase a vehicle, you can, option 1 is you pay it off, trade it in. And that's it. So you've got a few more options in the lease than you do with a purchase. I like the lease because, again, you have more options. It's a short-term commitment versus a long-term. Okay? In today's market, the average price of a car is $35,000. Okay? Now, when I was a kid, my parents, I remember back in the 80s, I remember they financed a car, and back in the 80s, your longest term finance was 36 months. In the 90s, 60 months to 66 months, and then in the millennium, okay, we're 72 months, actually 75. Today, we now have 85-month financing, okay? And that's a long time. And again, like I stated the other day, you know, from coast to coast, NADA standards, your average trade cycle is 3.5 years. So I'll just draw out a scenario here. In an 85-month term, okay, you stretch that out for 7 years, your trade cycle's 3.5 years, and that's NADA benchmark. That's the industry benchmark or standard on it. Okay, in your first 3 years, or just call it your first 2 years, you're just paying straight interest to the bank. Okay, and right when you drive that car off the lot, you've heard that saying. Okay, well, right when you drive the car off the lot, you automatically lose $5,000 in resale value. Well, that is true because it's now classified as a pre-owned vehicle. A car can have 0 miles on it, but if it's titled, it's classified as a pre-owned vehicle. A car can have up to 5,000 miles on it, still have an open MSO and never been titled, and you still sell it as a new car. So there is some truth behind that, and that is a fact. But what you have to realize is the day you drive it off the lot, every day you own it, it's doing this. Okay? It's going down in value. It's depreciating. So imagine if you get stuck into an 84-month term and you're trading every 3.5 years, or just call it even 4 years, okay, this is what you owe and this is what your car's worth, and now you have a big deficiency. Okay? And the reason why people are going 84 months, okay, is what you have to realize is the way we break it down for customers is on a 60-month term, on a $20,000 car, okay, your payment's going to be about $400 a month. Okay, same term on a $25,000 car, you're $500 a month. On a $30,000 car, you're $600 a month, and so on. Okay, so what that means is you get into an average price of a $35,000 car, and that's in today's market. Okay, you do that over 60 months, you're at a $700 car payment. Most people can't afford that. In some family households, it's more or less like a mortgage. So what the banks have done is they've started, now that cars are more reliable and they last longer, the bank is actually stretching these terms out. Okay, you take, like, for example, a Chevy Tahoe, an LTZ package, you get every bell and whistle, you're looking at a $70,000 car or truck. So imagine that, financing a $70,000 truck, we're looking at mortgage payments now. So, what I like about the leasing side is the more expensive the vehicle is, you'll see a significant difference in the monthly investment. Okay, anywhere up to from $50 to $100 a month, depending on the lease program, is what you'll save. Okay, on a short term of 3 years, because that's where most leasing companies set their programs. Okay, what that will allow you to do is it allows you to use up the brakes, use up the tires, use up the manufacturer's warranty, and when all that stuff needs to be replaced, we turn it in, you walk away from it, and if it's a college grad who got a vehicle, leased a vehicle right out of college, you go 3 years down the road, more than likely, they could be engaged. They could have a baby on the way. Their lifestyle is going to change, so then we move them from whatever they were in, maybe into a mid-sized car, or maybe they need a minivan, or maybe they need an SUV or three-row SUV or a truck. But in reality, in our society, people's lifestyle will change every 3 to 3.5 years.